Katie Tickner.
Hi. Do we have any parenting experts in the room tonight? No? Let me rephrase the question. Do we have anyone here who doesn't have kids? I just need to know where to go for some advice. So I imagined that parenting was going to be like the movie Mary Poppins. You know, my kids and I would just play imagination games and sing songs, and they'd never misbehave. Turns out life has turned out to be more like the Hunger Games, where I'm just trying to survive the day and find a dry place to sleep. I have 2 daughters, and my body worked really hard to make them, so, which is probably the hardest I've ever worked in my life. And I slept most of the time. I was sick through most of my pregnancy, and if you've ever experienced pregnancy nausea before, that is when your body throws up so violently that you lose control of your bladder in the middle of a Target. And it is a really awkward conversation to have to explain to a cashier why you're wearing the pants that you're buying. Because your other pants are gone now. I just turned 40 last year. Thank you. But I miss being in my 20s, because when I was 20, I was so smart. Have you ever met anyone smarter than a 20-year-old who has taken 1 psychology class? Well, I had taken 2. So I decided I was going to improve prison reform in this country. Now, I knew nothing about prisons, but I had just watched The Shawshank Redemption, and I believed in myself. So I cold called, this isn't a joke, I cold called the state penitentiary to see if they would be interested in my ideas. And I ended up teaching a life skills class to men who were about to be paroled. So imagine their first day walking in and seeing the person teaching them the skills necessary to navigate life outside of prison. Was me. A 20-year-old Mormon who couldn't rent a car. I may have oversold myself. People ask me if I was ever scared, and I was never scared to be in the prison, but I was terrified to be home alone in my own apartment. And I would come home every day and perform a security check to make sure it was safe. And I'd go room to room and just roundhouse kicking in all the closet doors, looking for an intruder, armed with a can of hairspray and a shoe. Because I was going to take out an intruder the same way I killed a spider. So when I met a man in class who told me a story about how he had to hide in a closet one time to avoid being caught, I realized that this was the man I had been looking for. And it felt nice to finally be able to put a face to a fear. And I wanted to give him a hug, but we weren't allowed to touch. So, another thing that I learned, and I'm gonna give away a trade secret here, but when somebody burglarizes a home, the first thing they'll do is they'll dump the drawers, because all of the heavy valuables will immediately bounce to the top. And we all hide our valuables in the most obvious place possible. Since having kids, they've destroyed any valuables that I once had. And now I just hoard weird stuff. if a burglar broke into my home and dumped my drawers, the only thing that's going to bounce to the top is a jewelry box full of kid hair and baby teeth. Who's the creepy one now?